if Gauri was there, I would say, I mean, she would be, I mean, writing, as I said, in her, of course, newspaper, but now the online presence has been much more than when she was there. So, of course, it would have been online, they would have been, like war zones, which the political party would have their own war zones. I'm sure she would have their own, more than what I would say, probably secular zones. She would have probably held different groups, sects to come together. But as you know, right now, there have been a lot of dissatisfaction with the people who are, below poverty line. For instance, the kind of suffering they've had, especially aftermath of Corona, and like the gas increase, prices of commodities have increased multiple folds. So there's this kind of dissatisfaction. So economically, everybody is facing a kind of real problems. And farmers, for instance, they are also having a lot of problems, from including the recent Amul, which they want to club with Nandini. I mean, there's of course a furor in Karnataka for farmers that way. So Gauri would have sided with everything which was injustice. She would have been there fighting with them, I'm sure. And through her writings, of course, mainly as a first as a journalist, and second as an activist, she would have been wherever, even if it's a small group or a big group, she never cared. What mattered were the issues for her. So I'm sure she would have been there, facing this, questioning the government. Because as you know, just now I was reading some interview, and he was saying how journalism, Gauri had already said it in one of her interviews, how journalists have become, newspaper have become like pamphlets of the government, the ruling powers. So right now, as you see, 80% of the media is bought over by the government, and they have become like mouthpieces of the government schemes and whatever. Instead of trying to question the government or to be like an opposition force, is what a journalist is supposed to be. So that is missing vastly in the current total Indian newspaper journalism, I think, and including television. So I'm sure Gauri would have been one of the rare independent journalists who would be questioning all the time. So that was what we miss, including when my father was there. As you know, he had brought down governments through the corruption exposure, everything. So that was another scenario, of course, and Gauri's scenario was different. But still, Gauri was striving, though she had multiple cases, like, as you know, Siddharth Varadarajan, who runs Wire, is, bombarded with cases, every journalist. But I don't know if that's one good thing that's happened in the recent, especially this, considering this campaign. I'm seeing a lot of individuals are coming up. Now they don't need channels. Everybody has a YouTube channel. Everybody has this thing. So they're coming and voicing out their opinion from, for instance, a vegetable seller that day. He's talking why she would not vote for a particular party. And she was very vehement about it. And that itself acts like a catalyst, I think, to other people maybe, because everybody's on the phone, everybody's on social media. Even the smallest village is sitting and watching this. So maybe that would also largely help. And for me, my biggest problem has always been not caste, not this thing, caste politics, but economic development, infrastructure development, education, health facility. This is the thing that we should be concentrating on. But we still seem to be, in a cloud of this caste and power and this. So I don't know when that will ever change.
One striking thing
Yeah.
that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
It was Press Freedom Day, and the quote came out, and India has again went down.
Yeah, but the ruling power just vetoes it out. Last time it came saying that when they made the index of press freedom was somewhere in the, I don't remember the exact this thing. Yesterday, what was it?
161.
Yeah. So last 1 year back, how much was it?
I think
140 or something.
140 something.
So it's just going down, and they just vetoed it out. They said, who are they to question our press freedom? See, they just seem to whitewash everything. That's the danger of this. People are thinking, okay, what's the big deal? Why should press? How much it's important for press to be having freedom to write, expose, and bring to informative. Is so important. People don't seem to realize that, and the powers to be are just saying, they don't even believe. They're just dismissing it, saying who are they to come and make an index of our press freedom, which is ridiculous. I think when we say hunger index, we are the lowest, one of the lowest. Everything. So nothing seems to matter anymore. So, but it's dangerous, I think, because uh, as you know, I mean, the independent journalists who are working like you or anything, if some kind of small, you have a like exposure, or you're talking against the government in any way, the next thing is you're getting trolled on social media like Gauri did continuously, or you're being attacked physically because there's a face now. It's unlike earlier, it was just newspaper, and they would write their name, and now it's not like that. It's all in the face. So there's a lot of attacks probably. I mean, like Rana Ayub is a friend of mine, and she called me yesterday. She's speaking in the UN, about freedom of press, and she's, how she's been harassed throughout all the time, how she's been trolled, how she's been physically attacked sometimes, but verbally abused constantly. So if this is the case for a woman, imagine where we are and what kind of situation we are in. People who have the power can make any kind of speech and they are getting away. But people who don't have power are getting sued, including Rahul Gandhi, as you know, is running around to courts, to everything. So this is what's happening. I mean, here you've seen especially the right-wing people, and if you go to Mysore or anywhere, I mean, the kind of ignorance, the kind of hate they're spewing is really, I mean, people are like believing in these things, polarization especially, and it's like crazy. I mean, there's a whole agenda. I think there's a lot of budget they've put into it in terms of money. As for movies, for instance, as I heard somebody saying, there's 2,000 crores is being pumped into film industry, for instance, to make films on polarization, to talk about Muslim, especially minority Muslim, who are like terrorists, and to spew hatred. And of course, the political parties you have seen standing on the dais and talking, from saying from Pakistan, go to Pakistan, or why are they there, or including reservation right now, which they have taken off 4% reservation, which away from the Muslim community. Of course, the court is still, it's in the court. But this kind of constant battering and badgering and putting them in a corner somehow, to all the minorities, and even Dalits, it's happening. So it's like, I mean, it's like pushing them to a corner, which is very dangerous, I think.
And what is the whole media is playing in this level?
Media is encouraging it. Simple thing like Bajrang Dal yesterday, what they spoke, manifesto which is there in the Congress apparently, and Mr. Modi comes and says they have jailed, this is already said, they have jailed Rama, and now they are trying to arrest Hanuman. This is what was this there. But they have said including PFI or whichever, any organization which is linked to terrorism or polarizing will be questioned, will be taken into what do you say? They will be investigated upon. That's all they have said. Which even every government should do that, whichever the party comes. So they have taken that completely out of the context, and they said they have jailed Rama and now they are trying to imprison Hanuman. So I don't know. As I said earlier, who owns them? Do any particular party own these gods? Do an individual owns them in their heart, or what? So this kind of hatred, and immediately, it was not even one day, I think the manifesto was released. Next day, this was the bhashan which Mr. Modi made all over. So I don't know. I mean, the other parties, I'm not saying just Congress. The minute I speak, they say if I'm against BJP or anything, they say I'm Congress. It's not that. I would actually love some other individual, I mean, like a regional party to come up in that sense. Why should we always depend on a national party to come in? But here we don't seem to have a very strong regional party as yet. That is what every not just here, I'm saying throughout India we should have each regional, because that's when we know they'll know our language. As you know, this Hindi jihad is going on here also. They have been trying to put Hindi everywhere in South India. These kind of assault of their language, their culture, or this thing. Why should it be? I mean, when we say India is beautiful because of its diversity, why can't we still respect each of it? So this is the whole thing. So yeah, there's always some misconstrued this thing about her, Gauri, saying that she was against Hindus, but she was completely against Hindutva. Which is what I also believe in. With any secular person would always be against Hindutva. We don't want one nation. We don't want we are a one nation, but we don't want one language. We don't want one dress culture. We don't want one national food that way. We don't want any of those things because we have our own food. 100 kilometers you go away, there's a different culture, there's different food. So Hindutva is that, making everybody one, that kind of thing. So of course Gauri didn't believe in it. So those are the ones who cheered for her death and called her names, called her Naxalite, though she was the one who was fighting which is working with the Naxalites, saying, leave your arms, come to the democratic society and talk with the government, talk your needs, because the tribal societies were there, tribals were there. So that's what she was doing that time. So, but people just completely, so they just, as you said, celebrated her death even. But on the other hand, there were a lot of people who were, of course, who were in solidarity with us as a family, and in solidarity with her ideals, solidarity with from A.R. Rahman to Shah Rukh Khan to many people, as you know, throughout the country, showed solidarity, not just celebrities, common man. From they were like when she died. I think in Karnataka alone, there were about 30, 40 protests all over small districts to everything. And as you know, it happened across India, it happened internationally. So that kind of, though at that time we were all in grief and it didn't really register, on hindsight, when I look back, at least I was happy that there were people who were for Gauri, who believed in Gauri, who believed in journalism, who believed in the, people who question the powers to be. So that way there's always going to be people, and as you know, the world over, it's leaning towards fascist rules, right-wing rule. So only people with humanity, people who with secular ideas, people who believe in the constitution, can probably, if they come in larger forces, if they understand, maybe it'll become a better world. In the sense, like people like students like you, who are like, on one side, this is my daughter, like who's been exposed to the current politics, for instance, to a certain level, and she believes in complete secularism. She believes in the constitution. But there are other set of people in Karnataka, for instance, as you know, the hijab case which happened. When one of the journalists went and talked to them, who started these issues, the boys, the four boys, he found out all of them were Dalits. So they have nothing to do with give or take of a hijab for girls wearing a hijab. But these are the kids who are being used. People from the below poverty, or people from the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe people, they are the ones whose mind is being, whitewashed, saying that there is, as if that they belong to the mainstream. But that same dichotomy is, in the same boys go probably into their house, or even to rent a house, they won't be getting a house for rent because they're Dalits. This they don't realize this. So these youngsters should change. Youngsters should know what is the meaning of all this, not just hatred, this poison towards another caste, religion. They should realize, and they should be educated, I think, in a way, in a large. That's when probably in the next few, maybe a century later, things will change. Because I don't think hunger is mattering to them. Joblessness is not mattering to them. Because their mind and body is being filled with hate and anger. There's a time, roti kapda or makan was the basic necessity. Now it's hate and anger, and so they're just going on this fuel, of hatred and poison. See, unless that changes, I don't know how this country, or the minute I say that, they'll say go to Pakistan to me, but I would rather go somewhere else, not Pakistan. Maybe I keep saying that. Yeah, yeah.